Good morning. My name is Cindy Domingo, and yes, I'm related to Lagaya. I'm her auntie, and I'm also I'm also with the Seattle chapter leadership. But today I'm very honored to introduce my Congresswoman and a dear friend and a woman that I deeply admire, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal. I tease Pramila that when I grow up, I want to be just like her. Congresswoman Jayapal, first elected as the first South Asian American woman ever elected to the House of Representatives, and was recently re-elected to her fourth term serving Seattle and surrounding communities. Because Amy Leong only gave me 1 minute to introduce our amazing Congresswoman, I can only begin to tell you all about her amazing accomplishments. Because of her progressive politics, because of her life experiences, Pramila has been on the front line of fighting for immigrants and working people and the most marginalized people in our society. As an internationalist, Congresswoman Jayapal's vision and advocacy crosses borders and knows that we in the U.S. can have no peace and justice and economic security until everyone, everywhere has peace and justice and economic security. She is the chair of the most powerful progressive caucus and leads on the issues of healthcare, jobs, transgender rights, immigration reform, all of the issues that are near and dear to our hearts. She never, never disappoints her constituents. She is a fighter for worker rights on all fronts. Let us welcome Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal.
Thank you so much. It is so great to be here, and I just have to start by thanking my sister in the struggle for justice, Cindy Domingo. She is, please give it up. She is such a powerful, lifelong advocate, organizer, teacher, sister, who has been in the streets and also inside government. And she understands the movement that we have to build, both domestically and internationally. She has been a friend for such a long time, and I'm just so honored to be able to give the kudos that she really deserves. And yes, Lagaya, it's a great family. We know the Domingos are powerful. So anyway, thank you, Cindy, so much for everything that you do. And Apala, welcome to Seattle. We are so delighted to have you here. This is a strong center of labor organizing, of AAPI organizing. We have beautiful weather. That is always the case here in Seattle, of course. You know that. But it is really an honor for us to host you here as you come together to build power and to create community in the intersections of AAPI communities, labor, and justice, but really for all communities, not just for AAPI. What moves me so much about the work that you do every day is that recognition of intersectionality. We like to say, we're not women on Monday, immigrants on Tuesday, workers on Wednesday, women on Thursday. We are all of those things all of the time, and we fight for all of those things all of the time. I looked at your principles of collective liberation, worker power, people power, racial justice, community and chosen family, home and sovereignty, gender justice, and intergenerational movement building. And I cannot tell you how moved I was by what powerful foundations those collective principles are for the kind of work that is ahead of us, for our collective humanity, and for the specific reason of caring for each other, that principle throughout all of your principles of collective liberation. So this room is incredibly special, and I just want you to give yourselves a round of applause for that incredible work that you are doing every single day. Now, Cindy mentioned I'm a lifelong organizer also. I'm the first South Asian American woman elected to Congress, one of only 24 naturalized citizens to serve in the United States Congress. And believe it or not, unfortunately, one of less than 100 women of color that have ever served in the United States Congress. And so we know we have a lot of work to do, but this room, this is my favorite kind of room to be in, because you are people who have been working on the front lines of the fight for justice for workers to have a living wage, the right to organize, the fact that we desperately need humane immigration reform, we need gender justice, we need global solidarity, and we need to take on anti-Asian hate in our communities across the country. So there's no question that this is an incredibly difficult time in our country and globally. Income and wealth inequality has soared to the highest levels in history, not just here in the United States, but around the world. And just last week, the Government Accountability Office issued a report showing that the median retirement account balance of high-income households nearly doubled in the last 2 years, and meanwhile, half of American households had literally no savings at all in retirement. And the poverty amongst our seniors is rising rapidly, in large part due to a completely upside-down tax system that benefits the wealthiest, and the disappearance of, this was specifically mentioned in the report, the disappearance of defined benefit pension plans, which were very much a part and parcel of what labor unions helped to bring so that we could lift up people to the middle class out of poverty and know that they would be secure in their retirement. And we know that anti-Asian hate has continued with the vilification of entire Asian countries and our people, playing into old, cruel, and dangerous stereotypes. At the same time, in 2019, more than 1.4 million AAPI women in the labor force worked in jobs that had median hourly earnings below $15 an hour, poverty wages, often working in states that still operate according to the federal, decades-old $7.25 minimum wage, which is outrageous, and that's not to mention the tipped minimum wage that exists in too many states across the country and puts particularly women of color into abusive situations. Now, due to a continuing wage gap, AAPI women lose between $268,000 and $1.3 million over the course of their careers. And that's why I'm so proud to have just introduced, as a co-lead with Senator Bernie Sanders, our new Raise the Wage Act, which increases the federal minimum wage to $17 an hour. For those of you in Seattle, you know that Seattle was the first major city in the country to pass a $15 minimum wage 10 years ago. 10 years ago. And I'm so proud to have played a leading part of that, inspired by the organizing and the advocacy of fast food workers across this country who walked out at significant cost to themselves and inspired a whole movement. And in the last 2 years, when Democrats controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House, we did make a major down payment on many issues. We passed the largest investment in our nation's infrastructure, the American Rescue Plan. We passed the American Rescue Plan, which invested in our state and local governments, public health, and small businesses, and gave families the child tax credit, which showed us that we could cut child poverty in half, that we can get rid of child poverty, that poverty is not a personal failing of people, but a policy choice that the government continues to make to have poverty out there. We passed the CHIPS and Science Act to bring manufacturing back to America again. We passed the Inflation Reduction Act with the largest investment in taking on climate change ever. And we passed a $1.5 trillion appropriations package to fund our schools, social safety net programs, transportation, and so much more. We also made huge progress on finally allowing Medicare to negotiate the price of prescription drugs with Big Pharma, so that we can stop gouging people. We capped the cost of insulin for seniors to $35, and we provided health care to DACA recipients, and we got the president to issue an executive order to cancel student debt for 35 million people. And I know the Republicans, the extreme MAGA Republicans stepped in and they're trying to block it, and the Supreme Court, the extremist Supreme Court is blocking it. But let me tell you, there is work underway to make sure that we deliver on that promise to cancel student debt. Now, these are not things that Democrats in Congress made happen. Yes, we made them happen. We got the legislation passed. They are things that the movement made happen, that you made happen. And I really want you to feel the power that you have as a community, as a group. You have invested in organizing and movement building, in building our unions. You have helped us to elect more diverse, progressive elected officials who can hold the line on critical fights. And as Cindy said, I'm so proud to chair the Congressional Progressive Caucus in the House with 103 members. That's almost half of the Democratic caucus now. And let me tell you, without us in the Progressive Caucus holding the line and insisting on passing Build Back Better through the House, there would have been no Inflation Reduction Act, no infrastructure bill. Without us holding the line on the CHIPS and Science Act, we would not have gotten the critical policy that says that federal dollars cannot go to corporations that invest in stock buybacks instead of investing in their workers. Without us you can clap, sure. It's a good one. It's a really good one. Without us holding the line on drug reforms, we wouldn't have even gotten that ability for Medicare to negotiate on a set number of drugs, and we're working on expanding that across all drugs. Now, all that said, we know that there's a lot to do and that the mountains in front of us are high. There is so much corporate greed and so much money that is lobbied against us. Private insurance companies that stop us from achieving my bill, Medicare for All, in the House so that healthcare can truly become a right, not a privilege for the wealthiest few. And our unions have been part and parcel of helping us to get more and more people on that bill. There's a lot of work for us to do because there are contractors who continue to push for a bloated Pentagon budget and forever wars instead of investing in our people, in our veterans, making sure we don't go to war, investing in diplomacy, public education, and building our economy from the bottom up and the middle out. But what gives me probably the most hope right now is the worker organizing that is happening across the country. Across the country, we have powerful worker movements, and once again, the assertion of the right to strike as a powerful tool for justice and worker power, from SAG-AFTRA to UPS workers to UAW workers to our graduate students right here at the University of Washington that just got an incredible contract. Congratulations, UAW. To ILWU workers who also just negotiated an incredible contract. Thank you, ILWU. As well as to workers that are challenging the biggest corporations like Amazon and Starbucks. Starbucks workers are on the move. They'll be here this week. I will be with them, taking on these enormous, powerful corporations that continue to rake in billions of dollars in profits for CEOs and top management, while workers stay working multiple jobs in unsafe conditions and unable to take care of their families. So, sisters, brothers, and siblings, we do not suffer from scarcity in America. We suffer from greed. We have enough for all of us. We have enough to help the world. We have enough. And we have to stop the greed. So this organizing is what allows us to do that, and it's what gives me so much hope. Federally, we finally got the NLRB, the biggest increase ever, to hire more staff so that they can ensure strong union organizing. And I've been leading the work on the PRO Act federally, which puts the power back into the hands of workers and supports union organizing so we can stop the decline of organizing across the country. We've got a Progressive Caucus executive action agenda that I hope you check out that we've been working on to get the White House to do things like strengthen overtime protections so that tens of millions of workers would actually get paid for the work they do, to hold employers accountable for labor violations, including breaking laws related to health and safety, investing in the care workforce, and incentivizing unionization for companies that get federal grants. And of course, now we've got an organizer as acting Secretary of Labor in Julie Su. To be able to truly shift power, we need to think not just about changing the rulers, which we often do, and certainly important, getting strong progressive Democrats in office, taking back the House and the Senate, keeping the White House, but I also think, and this is the work you've been doing as well, we have to change the rules, not just the rulers, but the rules. And that means changing the rules so more workers can unionize. It also means changing the rules of the United States Senate so that we can get rid of the Jim Crow legacy filibuster that gives the power to 40 senators who represent less than 11% of the country's population, gives them the power to stop the things that we in this room have been fighting for and that the majority of the American people want. So, from codifying abortion rights, to the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, to the For the People Act to get money out of politics, the Raise the Wage Act, the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, paid sick leave, universal child care, the assault weapons ban, the PRO Act, immigration reform, and so much more. That is the answer. If we don't change the rules to eliminate the filibuster, all of our progress will continue to get blocked. And that means that we need 50 senators who commit to eliminating the filibuster across the board. 2 years ago, we didn't even have 48 that said they would eliminate the filibuster to codify abortion rights or voting rights. But today, with John Fetterman, we have 49 for those two issues. So we've made progress. But to eliminate the filibuster for everything so that we can get legislation passed for the vast majority of Americans who will benefit regardless of party, we need to engage with, I hope you engage with your senators and those seeking to be in the Senate and continue to push this point and ensure that they are ready to change the rules so that poor and working people everywhere can have justice. Let me end with this. I don't know who likes Alabama Shakes and Brittany Howard, but I do. I think they're amazing. They spoke really powerfully about eruption, and I'm paraphrasing. But the thing about eruptions, as disruptive as eruptions are, think about the ground erupting, blowing up perhaps, it does open up the ground, and it allows you to see more clearly what has been hidden underneath, whether it's long-standing institutional racism or sexism or all the other things that we fight against. We see when there's an eruption, we see what we're dealing with. And in that clarity, it allows us to also plan our own strategies and harness the power of our movement more effectively. People have told me, I'm sure they've told you for a long time as progressive organizers, that what we're asking for is too much, that we're naive, that we can't possibly achieve that because politics, you know, politics is the art of the possible. And therefore, you should think about what's possible. Well, I will tell you what I tell them. If politics is the art of the possible, then it is our job as activists and organizers inside the labor movement, inside our communities, inside elected office, to change the boundaries of what is seen as possible. What is seen as possible. Because the possible is not static. It is a creation of the mainstream. It is something that can be moved by organizers like the people in this room who put their hands on that moral arc of the universe and push through our organizing, through our movement building, to change the boundaries of what is possible and achieve justice. So thank you, Apala, for doing that every single day. Have a wonderful convention. And from the bottom of my heart, I am your sister in struggle for justice. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Representative Jayapal. On behalf of Apala, we would like to give you a t-shirt commemorating our convention.
Somebody's got to take a picture of this. Okay, yeah. Beautiful. I will wear it with pride. Thank you.
Thank you.